And the tainted ones shall record, and they shall give their words to the world, and they who listen shall be the tainted ones. Okay, push record.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, we're recording. Hi, everybody.
The thing happened again.
What thing? What are you talking about?
Your thing.
I'm on
Your
medication.
your very specific form of not Tourette's.
Perfect. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Black Tower Podcast,
Hey,
where
that's us.
we, your tainty mahales, are spreading our taint across the nation, spreading the good tainted word of the Lord Dragon Reborn, Randall Thor. May he live forever under the taint.
We're just like dogs with itchy buttholes, just dragging them across the carpet of your lives, spreading the taint all
Sliding
over.
across the carpet of your life.
The next time you see a video of a dog or your own dog just butt scooting across the carpet, I want you to think Black Tower Podcast. Oh, those lovely tainted guys.
We're off to a great start already. I'm into it. This is the best episode we've ever recorded ever. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah. We should just
For those
stop
of you who
right
are
here
just
because it's
tuning
only
in
going to
for the
go
first
downhill
time,
from here.
it's only
Yeah,
going
but-
up. Only
Yeah.
going up. For those of you tuning in for the first time,
Yeah.
hello. I'm Josh. Currently, I hold the rank and title of Sorovan Mahale, cleanser of taint, dispenser of taint, he who taints in the wind. I have many titles, but it's okay. Really, you can just call me Josh or his taintness or El
Sounds like
Tainterino
you're
if
potty
you're not into
trained.
the whole brevity thing.
Just sounds like you're potty trained. Cleanser of taint, dispenser of taint.
Only took me 4 years to get it right.
Just sounds like a really roundabout way of saying you got the fucking Hershey squirts.
I mean, look, maybe I do. You don't know.
It's a lot more common after 30 than y'all might realize.
That's when actually, you know what? I'm starting a campaign. Dudes should absolutely go to the esthetician and get their crack waxed just for cleanliness reasons. All right. There's no like, the only person that's looking at your booty hole is the dude in MEPS, right? Unless
that
you're gay, which is cool.
doorbell.
That's cool too. But if you're gay, you're probably already getting the crack wax. I don't know. Look,
is that a thing?
I'm just saying.
Maybe it is.
Cleanliness issues. They're willing. This joke is going to go too far, and I'm just gonna stop right here.
You just want me to edit that out in post?
Nope. Leave it raw.
Oh. Jesus Christ, man. I just couldn't imagine like whenever it starts growing back and you got like the stubble and your cheeks start against each other, like you're gonna start a fire, man. Like you thought wiping too much, like with bad toilet paper, was painful.
Wait till
I'm
you're
your other host,
the cottonelle on your stubble.
Bruh.
Killer episode. Killer episode. We got this.
Bruh. I'm your other host. My name's Andrew.
A Twitch award for this.
I sometimes keep us on track, most of the time don't. And it is here and there my responsibility to censor the episodes.
Okay, you can censor this part out. Yeah, so I mean, it's a good thing we didn't tell that joke.
Oh God. The even funnier
No.
part is even the patrons won't get to hear it because this is not live recording because we're
Oh
doing this
yeah,
on a
this one.
Friday,
This is a
making
catch-up
up for
episode.
missing. Yeah, this is a
Yeah,
catch-up episode.
catch-up. We're not doing a mustard
It's-
episode though.
Well, do you really need that much lubricant on your wiener when you eat it? Like
Sometimes,
one's
look,
enough.
sometimes,
One's enough.
sometimes.
I mean,
Um,
ketchup brings a little the perfect amount of sweet with the already salty of the wiener. All right, you don't need the mustard necessarily.
we are the Black Tower Podcast. We have
Ketchup's already a
quality.
standalone condiment. Mustard's really not ever proven itself to be good by itself. All right,
We have
it's an
quality
accoutrement.
Wheel of Time content and Wheel of Time perspectives and hot
Right.
takes.
Imagine like
Join
somebody
us
puts this
every
on
week.
like in their car on their way to work, and they're all they hear is us talking about like dudes getting their buttholes waxed, it turns into sandpaper, and like, what are you listening to? Oh, it's a Wheel of Time podcast.
Oh God. Okay, but look, we do love the Wheel of Time. We do talk about Wheel of Time. If you're going to be attending Jordan Con here in a couple months, we're going to be at Jordan Con and tainting it up there. It's going to be good fun. We're going to have all the fun doing all the things live at Jordan Con. We also are going to be recording an episode live at Jordan Con. That's going to be awesome because it always is. Thank you very much. A reminder that Jordan Reynolds is doing the Soundscapes of Time. I'm going to tell Andrew to put a link to that in the description below so that you guys can make sure to click on that, go over and check that out, because not only is it a super awesome project, but it also is going to be featuring the voice acting talents of yours truly, as well as yours truly, Andrew and
That's
myself.
me.
Yeah, that is you. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
name.
Let's do this. Let's get into this because I am actually really excited about this topic. I do really love this particular topic. So do you want to provide our listeners with some protection?
Welcome to the Black Tower, a Wheel of Time podcast. Alright, let's check this one. This podcast will likely be spoiling books 1 through... Oh, what's this? An envelope addressed to me. No name, though. Let's see what's inside. Oh my. This podcast will likely spoil all the books in the series, and apparently being a Patreon will expose you to information that should be left unseen. Protect yourself by pulling that spoiler condom all the way on. And I need a drink. That's way more of Andrew than I have ever wanted to see. Why would you read it down there?
Because I can.
that one's perfect because we were just talking about the old crack wax.
Hey man, that's my alternative to the wax.
Love it. The braid.
Yeah, the braid. That way you can just pull the braid out of the way when you got to do whatever you're doing.
Why is it that I'm thinking of all the really bad jokes that we can't put in the episode right now? I'm not going to say them though, so that you don't have more work editing than you already do. But
appreciate it.
Tonight's episode, as you probably picked up from my intro, is about prophecy in the Wheel of Time. Prophecy. Prophesizing, telling the future. And I will be honest, and I've said this before and I'll say it again and again and again. I love to hate prophecy as a storytelling mechanism. I hate it so much. It annoys the crap out of me. And I know people are like, oh no, it's a great way to, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Sure. Great. It is. But the problem with prophecy is it's always so linear, right? I have to go here and do this thing because the prophecy said so. Who wrote this prophecy? Where did it come from? Why does it exist? Why does everybody universally accept this prophecy? Secondly, how much prophecy is in the world that we just don't know about, because there's no possible way that we know every single prophecy that exists. It's not possible. Even in the Wheel of Time, you have the Karaethon cycle, which is like the main sort of holy book of prophecy in Randland. But there's also the prophecies of Viridian. There's the Jendai prophecy, the Arafel prophecy, prophecies of the Shadow. Wait a minute, the Shadow has their own prophecies. So why would a prophecy serve them at all? If unless I don't know. There's just a lot to prophecy that I really hate. That being said, prophecy in the Wheel of Time, I love. I I love it because it serves own you have one version of prophecy that I'm going to say is prophecy is Min's viewings, right? She doesn't always understand what they mean, but when she does, they happen. Period, end of story. It doesn't matter, they happen. And I love that she has this whole sort of monologue about it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I tell them. It doesn't matter if I don't tell them. It doesn't matter if I try and avoid it. And it doesn't matter if I just let it happen. It's going to happen the way it's going to happen. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. Right. And I love that. And she talks about it and she basically says, it just serves to annoy her most of the time because she can't do anything about it. And people get mad when she says, you're going to die. Oh no, I'm going to die. They get all pissy with her and immediately try and find a way to change it. And it's like, you can't. And so it serves as a real hindrance to her in her day to day, to the point where she doesn't like people to know about it. Rand gets obsessed with the Karaethon cycle, obsessed with it.
Mhm.
And nobody can understand the half of it, right? Even when he thinks he knows, he's like, cool, I have to do this thing. The big one is the Stone of Tyr. I have to go take the Stone of Tyr and draw the sword that is not a sword. And we don't know what that means. Nobody knows what that means. Everybody just goes, it's something. We just have to accept that it's something. Which again, prophecy. It elevates this sentence to prophecy, and all of a sudden, it doesn't matter that it doesn't make sense. It's prophecy, and therefore valid in every way. But prophecy in the Wheel of Time, Rand says, I need to take the Stone of Tyr, and the people of the dragon need to come with me. He has no idea what that means. He just goes, I guess this is what I got to do, and starts trying to do it. And the prophecies are so vague that you oftentimes can't understand them until after the fact, until after you look back and go, oh, which is why some of the more plainly worded ones, like the Stone of Tyr must fall, are the ones that people look to. But I do particularly love ones that are a little bit more subtle, that you don't realize they happened until like going through a reread or something like that.
Mhm. Well, it's Tyr is always an interesting part to kind of bring up because so the Corinthian cycle is the overall name for a large group of prophecies, part of which is the prophecies of the dragon. Um, and the prophecies of the dragon specifically are supposed to detail or relate to how the dragon will be reborn and what his coming will do for both the light and the shadow and the rest of the world. At its core, the Corinthian cycle is a collection of foretellings from before, during, and kind of immediately after the War of Power.
It's
Um,
literally the Bible.
kind of. That's definitely an inspiration for it for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but even still, like most people in the world avoid the Corinthian cycle. Like they're vaguely aware of it, but they actively like avoid it and don't want to talk about it. And the Corinthian cycle and the prophecies are banned in many areas, like Tyr.
Right.
Having a copy, um, having a copy of the prophecies of the dragon, or even telling the prophecies of the dragon, we learn from Tom, is enough to put you in prison in Tyr. Which is especially noteworthy considering that the prophecies directly say that basically the seat of power and government in Tyr must fall for the
Right.
dragon to rise.
I can't imagine why they don't like that one.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah. It's nuts. But again, like Josh was saying, some of it is very, very direct. Like, on the slopes of Dragon Mount shall he be born of a maiden wedded to no man. It's like that's pretty clear. He's going to be born on the slopes of Dragon Mount, to a maiden wedded to no man. Basically, like she's gonna be unmarried.
Well,
Like,
she's married to the spear. She's not married to a man.
okay, she's going to be unmarried in the conventional sense.
Yes.
There's also like the double meaning of maiden, where maiden
Right.
can just be like conventionally a female warrior, but in this case, it's maiden of the sphere. Um, what else? Twice and twice he shall be marked. Once the heron to set his path, twice the heron to name him true. Once the dragon for remembrance lost, twice the dragon for the price he must pay. He's, again, he's going to have 2 marks of the heron, 2 marks of a dragon. He gets both. Rand gets both of the dragon marks from his trip to Viridion, and he gets 1 heron mark from his sword fight with Ishmael in the sky, where the sword gets hot enough that the heron gets burned into his palm. In the books, it makes sense. In the TV show, it doesn't, because nobody grabs a sword and uses it actively by grabbing the blade when they have the hilt.
No,
But okay.
some people do. People who have absolutely no idea how a sword works.
Okay. I was
Those
about to say, I was like, what? Um, Ishmael attacks Rand, and the first one is Ishmael attacks Rand in his dreams with fire
Yes.
as he holds Tam's sword, and the fire sears a heron on Rand's hand. Okay,
Yes.
so remember how we got the second one? The first one was from the dream.
Yes.
That's right, because he really tries hard to hide the first one because it's from a dream.
Yeah, and he doesn't like knowing
Yeah.
that he got injured in his dream. And frankly, I don't blame him.
Yeah,
Shit's
so that's
scary.
Great Hunt, chapter 15. Yeah, so he gets on both basically from Ishii.
And yeah, Ishii gives them both, which is funny because Ishii sort of seeks him out to mark him. Like, I don't think he like specifically wants to, he's not like, I'm going to confront Rand and give him the heron brands and set him on the path. I think he is an unwitting participant in that particular prophecy. But it's again, like, if Ishii knew about that, I'm going to say he does not. But if Ishii knew that, would he have still sought Rand out like that?
I'm good.
Yeah, so
All right.
so he's got the 2 herons. Like,
Yeah.
if Ishii knew about them, he could simply undermine the prophecy by not, by ensuring that Rand was not marked. Which again, I don't know. It's just this is why prophecy becomes a problem, right? Because if the bad guys have the blueprint for success given to them, which they have to have access to the Carathion cycle, but nowhere in the story that I know of does Ishii go, "Oh man, he's got the Heron Brands, the Stone of Tearfell. Oh no, the prophecies are coming true," because they have their own prophecies that tell them that they're winning.
Mm-hmm.
So the weirdest part about this is part of the reason why I love prophecy and the Wheel of Time is because it, in the end, makes very little impact on the story. Like it sets some characters' paths for them. Like they make decisions based on prophecies, thinking they understand them. But for the most
Yeah.
part,
So like that's a thing that's really worth talking about is how much of the prophecies wind up being just a kind of gentle like guiding force that helps. How much of it winds up being like like all like manipulation? Because like in Dragon Reborn, after Rand like is just like I'm better on my own, oh, and like runs away from everybody. His whole thing is I just need to go and fulfill as many prophecies as possible because the more prophecies I fulfill, the closer I am to finishing this whole thing,
yeah,
the less likely I am to hurt anyone else. No one else needs to get caught up in this. And at this point, he's like, I think at this point, like he's fairly like he knows like he's probably gonna have to die, or no, at this point he knows he's gonna have to die.
yeah.
At least in his mind, he's like, this only ends whenever I die fighting,
Whenever I shed my
the Dark
blood
One.
on the rocks at Shale Ghoul.
Yeah. Which is a good example of him potentially not correctly interpreting prophecy.
Well,
Like,
and Tom
like
even
the
points
prophecy
that out to
doesn't
him at one point
say,
in time.
yeah, the prophecy doesn't say that he has to shed all of his blood or that he has to die on the rocks at Shao Ghul. It just says like, hey, you're gonna fucking bleed. And it's like, wild thought, you're gonna get into a fight and bleed.
Right.
Like it's nothing crazy. Let's see. Let's see. But for him, like he's just running and trying to make as much of this stuff happen. Um because he thinks like that the prophecies are written in stone and they have to happen, and if they don't happen, it's gonna fail. And it's just like this weird crusade kind of thing that he goes on, like seeking to make prophecy reality.
Right.
Um, and I'm trying to find there was one part. Yeah. His blood on the rocks of Shao Ghul, washing away the shadows, sacrifice for men's salvation, or for man's salvation. Like, yeah, it just says blood on the rocks.
Right.
In the pit of doom shall his blood free men from the shadow. Red on black, the dragon's blood stains the rock of Shao Ghul. Twice
Yeah.
dawns the day when his blood is shed, once for mourning, once for birth. And it's like,
Nowhere in
yeah,
there
it
does it
just says
say
you're
he
gonna
has
bleed.
to die.
Yeah.
But I do. So like again, like Tom gives him a lecture at one point in time, right? Because Rand's like, I have to die, and he's being super dramatic about it. And Tom is like, boy, you don't know what you're talking about. That could just mean
Mm.
that you get wounded. Like technically, what it says is your blood on the rocks. You could probably go up there right now, bleed on the rocks, and fulfill that prophecy. You don't know. So stop acting like you do. And of course, Rand is in
Mm.
his he's in the entry point of his Darth Rand era, and so he doesn't listen to Tom. But I do love that once again you have another character, Tom, who basically just says, and Tom is considered to be an expert on the Carithian cycle because
Mm.
he recites it at events. But he's another character like Min who basically says, we don't know what it means. We have no idea. He shall hold a blade of light in his hands, and the three shall be one. What does that mean? Nobody knows. We don't know. Oh, wait, except for Tom is the one who actually witnesses that. And I think that's cool as a hell. I think that's so cool. I think that when you have prophecy that's more of a what's the word? I lost the word. Foreshadowing mechanism. And it makes me so happy to see things that happen in book one, things that are recited in book one that are valid all the way up to book 14. Like
Well,
that
that's also
just blows my mind, and I love it.
that one's also like can be interpreted in two ways, or you has a double meaning, whichever way you want to look at it. Because there's there's the whole thing that Tom witnesses in the actual pit of doom, um, with the fight between Rand Morden and Shaitan, and the three becoming one. But then there's
Right.
also, of course, at the moment that Rand is fighting so fiercely with Kalendor, especially with the time dilation, his efforts are mirrored in the outside combat and the ebb and flow of the battle. And when he's winning, the forces that Matt is leading and fighting with start to win.
Yeah.
And Perrin's efforts against Slayer start winning. So they're like fighting as one kind of thing at the same time. Like it all kind of like works in tandem with each other. So like both interpretations fit the prophecy. There's nothing there to tell you which one of those is correct. And there's nothing
Right.
saying that only one of those is correct, because that's one of the things about prophecy is, well,
Right.
yes, you can interpret it four different ways because it was meant four different ways. Convenient. I mean, clearly.
And you only know for certain at the end when it happens and you go, "Oh, that's what it meant." And I
Yeah.
love how many times people try to the Stone of Tyr. I like to talk about this one a lot because it's one of the more famous ones. And Rand goes to the stone, takes the stone, and everybody's like, "Yeah, but what about the people of the dragon? Like the people of the dragon were supposed to come. Why didn't that happen?" And they're trying to figure it out. And Ruark is like, "Oh, about that, I have a dragon tattoo on my arm because I'm a clan chief, and the people of the dragon is a secret name that we give to the Aiel because we are the people of the dragon." And it's like, oh, but before that, you even had like Logain, like starting some shit and calling his army the people of the dragon because he was like, we're going to tick these prophecies, we're going to have some great times with it.
Mhm.
And then just kidding, we're not doing that. That's not how that works. And it's like, well, okay, it's in this particular case with prophecy, there is an objectively singular meaning that we don't understand until after the fact, that there's no way for us to understand until
Mhm.
after the fact.
Yeah. I mean, so like Rand would not have beelined it for the Stone of Tyr were it not for the Corinthian cycle and the
Exactly.
prophecies of the dragon.
And keep in mind too that Moraine wanted him to start maneuvering politically, wanted him to start drawing armies and building an army and bringing people to him now that he had declared himself and fought the Dark One in the skies. And we have the beginning of book 3, The Dragon Reborn. And now that Rand had met some of the signs, her move was to go out politicking and start gathering people to his banner and gathering strength, because even Moraine doesn't know the prophecies half as well as she thinks she does, and she's also somewhat of an expert in the Corythion cycle,
Yeah.
which again, like I love that. I love that Moraine, like, smart as hell. I love Moraine. She is so, like, such a great character in the books. Even she doesn't know. Even she doesn't know. She's like, yeah, we need to develop an army. We need to build up an army. You need to have thrones backing you. We need to prove that you're the Dragon Reborn to, Queen Morghese, to the Borderlanders, to all these people. We need to prove it so that you can start building a nationwide coalition, so that we can join forces the way we joined forces during the Aiel War. And that was the wrong move. That it just was, because Moraine didn't know about the Aiel being the people of the dragon, and she didn't know that they needed to be there. Luckily, they had their own prophecies and signs that told them it was time to go looking for the Karakarn. And so they just happened to be in the wetlands, and they just happened to run across, I think it was Perrin, that told them he's on his way to Tyr. And they were like, cool. And they told every Aiel that they could find, go to Tyr. And so the whole freaking army of Aiel converged on Tyr at the same time. And it was prophecy in a way that was entirely unforeseen. Something that was predicted and foreseen in a way that is entirely unpredictable and unforeseen. And I love it. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I'm just scanning through the prophecies of the dragon again. I mean,
Well,
because some of the passages are like half fluff, half possible meaning. Shocking, I know, when it comes to prophecy. Like, where was the one that I was just reading? I was like, oh, half of this is fluff. There can be no health in us, nor any good thing grow, for the land is one with the dragon reborn, and he is one with the land. Soul of fire, heart of stone, in pride he conquers, forcing the proud to yield. He calls upon the mountains to kneel, and the seas to give way, and the very skies to bow. Pray that the heart of stone remembers tears, and the soul of fire love. 80% of that is fluff.
yeah.
Like, hey, he's gonna get a big fucking head, and he's gonna be a big ass dick. Hopefully that changes. Like, hopefully that changes. That's what we need. It also puts which fucking book is it? The one where we always joke that he's shouting at the sky. The one where they cleverly like drape his cloak over his now missing hand. Or, no, it's not the same one.
Oh.
Well, there is the one where he's like raising his
Fires of
fist
Heaven?
and like shouting at the sky. It's not Fires of Heaven, is it?
I think it might be.
Watch
I am looking it up.
it be Fires of Heaven, and it's like, oh hey, my favorite book. I don't remember the cover for.
No, it's not Fires of Heaven.
Images.
I was doing the exact same. Gathering Storm.
Is it Gathering Storm?
It is Gathering Storm, because there are several.
Yeah.
There are several versions of Gathering Storm, and a lot of people don't know that. This is so. For those of you listening along, there are several versions, several different covers for the Gathering Storm. There's one where Rand is, his back is to the viewer. He's got his hand raised up in the air, and he's got his other hand with the hand severed off. There's another one where he's facing.
Oh, that was the one that they tried not to do because it was spoiler. Like it spoiled that he lost his hand.
and they
Yeah, that's right. This is the one where it's covered by his cloak, and they're like, "Oh, there's no spoiler there," and it's like,
yeah.
yeah, there is. Like,
There's another
oh,
one
I will
too,
say,
though.
like, the most drastic difference in cover art for Rand, as a quick tangent here, is the one go from like Lord of Chaos to Crown of Swords.
I love the Daryl K. Sweet art. I do. I love all of it.
Yeah. But it's drastic. Like Lord of Chaos, like looks like a romance novel cover, and then Crown of Swords looks like Renaissance Fair MMA, like like boxer kind of thing. Like it goes from being like Casanova's gonna swoon your girl to like dude's gonna rock your shit. Like that's what it looks like.
Yeah. So you do have this situation in which um I'm pulling up the
But
art.
anyway. But so we have that, like that could be like, oh, he's like shouting unreasonably for the mountains to kneel and the seas to give way and the very skies to bow. Because in a way, like he is, because he's like they're really frustrated about like the state of the world and how the weather's going and shit's not growing, and it's I think at this point like it's hot as fuck all the time. Because they've used the bowl of winds at this point to kind of like fix the weather, but the rebound of like this really severe summer has hit and it's drying fucking everything out.
Well, it
Um
starts with the summer, then they use the bowl of the winds, and it turns into like the deepest winter, and then they use it again, and then it gives us right back to a ridiculous summer or something like that.
did they use it a second time?
I don't know if they used it a second time. I am in our BTP reread. We just finished off Crown of Swords, supposedly in January. I'm totally not a couple of days behind. Don't worry about it. And they use the bowl of the winds at the end of Crown of Swords, and that's when it goes from the initial summer, right? Because we never got the fall,
Oh yeah, that's right.
and we
Yeah,
never
the summer is the problem they're trying to fix because they're
originally,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But I don't know, because and then it goes, because imagine someone being like, hey, we didn't get fall in September, October, November, and now we're in the deepest part of winter in December or January, and we're going to use
Mhm.
a Tirangriel to correct the weather. And they went, okay, weather corrected. That means we're deep in the middle of winter now.
Well, the funny thing is like it didn't just like push the weather to where it should be at that time. It it like forced the changing of the weather so that the weather hurried up and was like, "Oh, we're way behind. We're gonna just give you all of it right now." Like it didn't just jump to being that cold or get that cold and then start snowing or whatever. It was like, okay, it's really fucking cold, and all of the snow that you would have gotten slowly over time until this point, you're gonna get all of that snow
Well,
now.
and what does Nynaeve keep saying, though? Nynaeve keeps saying there's a storm. Like, we should be in the middle of a giant storm right now, because she has a weather sense. And we always think about it being like, oh, it's a metaphorical storm. No, it's not. It's not a metaphorical storm. It's how the weather should be behaving. And it's
I mean,
not behaving
it's
that
kind of
way. And
both.
she's like, oh shit, something ain't right.
Kind of both. I think it's like kind of both with her because Nynaeve still like gauges everything based off of how she felt as wisdom.
Yeah.
And I think like when there was trouble brewing, it felt to her the same way like that a storm would when it was
Maybe.
coming, kind of
Maybe. Look,
thing.
I Crown of
Turns
Swords
out like
is
it's not actually anything super special other than the fact that she has like a super
yeah.
sensitive like inner ear that like adjust with the barometric pressure changes, and there's a
She's got
storm coming.
arthritis in her knees. Oh, there's a storm coming.
Her secret is being older than the people around her. Young enough to still feel the senses in the different parts of her body, but old enough to have aches and pains that change with like atmospheric pressure. That's her yeah. Her power is like post one military service contract knees. Like-
That's why she's so cranky.
Bruh. That's why she's always ready to beat somebody with a fucking stick.
That-
She's like, I got my
Robert Jordan
DD-214. I'm gonna
literally-
beat the shit of y'all with this stick.
Robert Jordan literally wrote Nynaeve as a grumpy old veteran.
Bruh, that'd be great.
She's an
Oh,
old
man.
soul.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh. But with these prophecies, they're prophecies of the dragon, but some of the popular excerpts from them come from this is how you know it's more than just prophecies of the dragon, it's the overall Corinthian cycle. Because it's not just the dragon reborn in the prophecies. Like there's a couple mentions. So there's where is this one? Right. Fortune rides like the sun on high, with the fox that makes the ravens fly. Luck his soul, the lightning his eye. He snatches the moons from out of the sky.
Right.
It's Matt and Tuon.
Matt Bloody
Mainly Matt.
Coffin.
That's it. In case that was ever confusing for anybody with the amount of only Matt specific references. Well, Matt being the
Right.
only person that fits the references there. And then they're like, maybe that section isn't clear enough. Let's be clearer when we talk about Perrin. When the Wolf King carries the hammer,
Right.
thus are the final days known. It's like,
Seems
I
pretty-
wonder who the fuck that could be. Who is related to, who has anything to do with wolves and carries a hammer at
For
any
real,
given
though.
point ever? Oh,
For real though.
fucking Perrin.
So, but,
Those are
but
like-
again,
There's only 3 things he does in the entire series, and dealing with wolves and carrying a hammer is 2 of them. The other one is Fail. That's it. Like,
it's so true.
so it's like the only thing they needed to say is like when the Wolf King carries the hammer with the Falcon, then that would have been all 3 things that Perrin does. Like,
Well,
and then
and-
when the
and that
fox
was-
marries the raven and the trumpets of battle are blown.
But that's the thing though, is that Min has a viewing, which is a type of prophecy where a hawk and a falcon
A hawk
perch
Tua?
on Perrin's shoulders, which we later know to be Min and Bear Lane fighting over him, which I don't get it, but you know, some people do, and that's cool. Good for them.
I mean, Barreline hasn't met Galad yet, and she's trying to keep Mayene safe in the coming events. Matt's
I
not
mean,
around, which is
you're not
lucky
wrong.
for him. The last
You're
time
not
she tried to swoon Rand, his fucking reflections came to life and tried to kill him. That's Perrin's problem. He just needs a bubble of evil to scare her away. That's all it takes.
All the chase.
Like, bruh, like that's why Fael's actually mad at him. Like, Rand got rid of her in one fucking night. Perrin, what are you doing, bro? You mean to tell me you can you with the Ashaman can forge a power wrought weapon for the first time in like 3,000 fucking years, but you can't get Barrelane to leave you alone?
Oh shit, that's funny.
I'm kind of on Fael's side now that I think about it. Like, she's pissed because Perrin doesn't do anything, and that's like his MO for like 80% of the fucking story.
I mean, look, you're making a lot of valid points, right?
Like, I'm not a Fael apologist by any means, but
Fail apologist.
But I'm starting to think she's justified being pissed at Perrin every time Berylene is even mentioned.
I'm no fly eel apologist. That's some funny shit right there.
Oh God.
Oh fuck.
Oh.
Dude,
Oh God.
the policy, the policy, the whole prophecy thing, like I said, it gets me because it's something that I actively love to hate on, right? It because okay, let's sidebar for a second and go into like Harry Potter. Harry Potter
Oh, well, that's one of the
had,
worst prophecies.
yeah, it was not a great prophecy system, right? But in a lot of ways, I feel like it was borrowed from Robert Jordan because those who made prophecies would slip into a trance, spew out a prophecy, have no idea what they said, right? Because the Aes Sedai that had the
Mhm.
foretelling don't know what it is that they said, and then go, and then that prophecy is recorded, and then they blah 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 blah. But the problem is, oh well, and then there's even the really cool prophecy bit where you know the prophecy is that the Dark Lord shall seek him out and mark him, and then he shall become the
Oh,
the
I can
the
read it for you
undying
if you
one
want.
shall become his equal, and you
Mm.
go, okay, cool. But the problem is you go and look at the end of the books and you're like, wow, Neville actually was also fit all the criteria and might actually be the chosen one, to include the fact that he lost his parents because his parents were in open defiance of the Dark Lord. He destroyed one of the Horcruxes. Like there's a lot of things there that go, the only reason it was Harry and not Neville is because Voldemort chose Harry and said, nope, it's Harry. And so you have that really cool bit of prophecy that I think works really well. But the problem then becomes you now have things like the prophecy that's on page is when Trelawney tells, Harry that the servant has returned to the master and the Dark Lord returns tonight. It's not a prophecy, it's just her saying this is what just happened. Which I
Mhm.
suppose by the strictest definition of prophecy it is, but it's the most boring prophecy because once again, now we know exactly what's happened. It gives it's there's zero mystery involved. There's zero mystique. Now, granted, there's nothing they can do about it at the time, but my point stands. It's a prophecy that we immediately uh, i- interpret the meaning with zero issues, and it just I don't know. It's weird to me that you have authors who use prophecy as a sort of storytelling point of progression, I guess,
Mhm.
and it doesn't really work out because what they end up doing is just saying, "Hey, this is what's going to happen," or "This is what's happening right now, just in another area."
Yeah.
And it all it does is serve to give information to the main character and point the main character onto the right path. In this particular case, Harry goes, "Oh shit, Voldemort's back," and he goes and tells Dumbledore, and Dumbledore's like, "Well, shit, now Voldemort's back," and that's the end of the book. In the Wheel of Time, I don't think it ever
Well, I mean,
once happens.
there's something that happens in between that. So,
Well, you get what I'm saying, though.
but yeah, yeah. I mean, at
I don't.
least like he actually sees it happen before he's like, "Oh, hey."
Yeah, but I don't think it ever happens in the Wheel of Time where someone goes, prophecy. Because even Elida has a foretelling that the throne of Andor is the key to winning Tarmangaiden. And so she, you know, helps Morghese ascend to the throne, tying herself to the throne of Andor looking for glory, but doesn't realize that she doesn't understand the reasons why the throne of Andor is tied to the victory in Tarmangaiden, and has a lot of confusion on a foretelling that she thinks is pretty straightforward. And it is pretty straightforward, but not in the way we think it is. And I think that's really brilliant foretelling prophecy writing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the way I kind of look at it is men's viewings are absolute.
Right.
She is getting glimpses of the basically the guaranteed futures of the pattern. The Aes Sedai foretellings are, I believe, they're similar, but they're generally like much further reaching. And
Mm-hmm.
because they're so much further reaching, they're going to be more vague. They have to be more vague.
Right.
Because the path to it isn't as direct. And even for men, like her viewings get more recognizable the closer they are to coming true. So like she vaguely is aware of Logain like coming glory, but there's not like a lot to it until later on, like
Right.
whenever he's closer to actually attaining, glory. And there's plenty of stuff with like Rand and Matt and Perrin that she doesn't see enough of, or there's a bunch of stuff there. I think that's one of the things, especially with Rand, that there's so much stuff around him that different parts come forward and become clearly visible at different times. So men's viewings are absolute things that are going to happen, that they're persistent, that she can see them whenever, as long as they're there.
Right.
Foretellings are just spur of the moment inspirations from the pattern or whatever, that are very vague for the most part. And because of that vague, they kind of get lumped in with the prophecies, and prophecies are just things that come from foretellings that may happen. I don't think anything in the prophecies actually have to happen.
Huh.
I think these are just things that the
Well,
prophecies are saying, these are things that will probably happen, or these are things that are very likely to happen. And in some ways, it's beneficial. So we have some things that are like good guiding points for Rand, like pushing him to take the Stone of Tyr and draw Kalendor and fuck around with Kalendor a couple times and figure out that it's very useful, and to start looking into it more, and men looking into it more, is the entire reason why Rand gets a happily ever after and Moradin gets a happily never again.
Okay, but okay. So are we basically doing like a chicken and an egg situation here then?
I mean, kind of.
Or like a okay, Matrix, right? Neo goes to see the Oracle, and the Oracle says, "Welcome, come on in. Don't worry about the vase." And he goes,
Mhm.
"What vase?" and turns and then breaks a vase, right? And he goes,
Yeah.
"How did you know I was going to do that?" And she goes, "What really going to bake your noodle later is, would you still have broken it if I hadn't said anything?" Are you suggesting that prophecy from foretellings, that is the actual nature of a prophecy? Is it's by sort of thread in the patternness is a kind of self-fulfilling loop? Like it's a Like
I
it's
think
a
it can
marker.
be.
It's a
If you
marker
give
that's
if
given to someone in the past, and it says, "Hey, you need to say this right now. You need to record this right now," so that someone in the future can read it and be inspired to do a thing.
I think it can be. I think
Oh,
the
that's
solidity of prophecy, I think, is dependent on the people that receive it, that the prophecy is about, kind of. Like, the prophecies about Rand as the Dragon Reborn only hold as much credence for him as he gives them. And Rand gives the prophecies of the dragon all of the credence in the world. Like, he reads the prophecies of the dragon and tries to understand them as the
yeah,
gospel. This is the end all be all. This is the blueprint to victory. If
right,
I don't do all of these things as the prophecy says and do them correctly, we will fail. I will fail.
right.
And my death will be for nothing. And everybody I love will fail, will die for no reason. I have to do all of these things. Meanwhile, Perrin doesn't forge a hammer because the Corinthian cycle mentions it. He doesn't go back and deliberately try to rule the two rivers because of it. These are
Yeah,
just things that happen. And even then, he's a one line in the Corinthian cycle.
hmm,
And Matt doesn't go around looking for the daughter of the nine moons because of the Corinthian cycle. He goes around looking for her
that's
because of
true.
the snakes and foxes. The only thing he doesn't give up one of his eyes, half the light of the world to save the world because of the Corinthian cycle or anything from it. Does it because of the fin? Because they told him that's what he would have to do. Like, um, none of his stuff is coming from the cycle, and so the parts about them are very vague. Like, but ultimately, like, they're inconsequential in terms of the overall prophecy. So there's things that could happen, but didn't really need to happen. Like, it doesn't matter if Perrin goes by king or lord or anything like that, or carries a hammer. They're just like, this is going to happen, and when it happens, you're in the end times, and it's not anything to do with Perrin himself. It's all to do with Rand. But when
Yeah.
you get to the stuff about Rand, um, he shall heal the wounds of madness and cutting of hope. It's like, oh, okay. So did Rand decide that he needed to cleanse the taint of Sidene or attempt to do it because he read this line of the prophecies of the dragon and that's
Yeah.
all he could assume it is?
See, that's where you get into it, like, right? Because
But did that need to happen for him to be successful in the end?
exactly. So okay, so
Did
that's
Sidene have to be cleansed of the Dark One's taint for
I
his
mean, I would
attempts
say
to
yes.
seal the Dark One away to be successful? I don't
I
think
would
they
say
did.
yes. You don't
I don't
think?
think it did. Because at the point where he's using Kalendor and he's pulling the true source or whatever through the Dark One, he could have used it to siphon the taint off of Sidene as he's using it. Like, he could have just pulled it all through there. He could have basically forced the protection that the Dark One gave his followers, I think.
Interesting.
That's a lot easier
Well,
if you don't have to do that.
well, now you got a point there with the cleansing of Sidene. Was it necessary? Like, okay, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But if it was not something that was necessary, then what they were looking at was another conflict, right? Because right after Tywin
Mhm.
Gaiden, they would have to figure out a way to deal with um, the taint on Sidene, or
Mhm.
else deal with another breaking.
Now, do I think it was necessary for other reasons? Yeah, I mean, I think it was not for that
Sure.
specific reason, but there's a lot of what ifs. Like the tank could have been used as a battle source for the Dark One, especially that close to Shao Ghul.
Yeah.
It could have been something that he could have surged and made all the male channelers go insane and wreak havoc on their own forces, kind of thing. Absolutely. But well, let's see what else in here do I think maybe didn't have to happen. Like, did Rand really have to take over as the ruler of Ilion for him to be able to complete the prophecies,
Well, it does
or for
say
him
that he
to
shall
for him
wear
to
a
be able
crown
to
of
save the world?
thorns,
Yeah, wearer of the crown
which
of swords, spinner out of
they
fate. Actually,
changed
him
the
wearing the
name.
crown of swords is mentioned twice. So to be
Which
mentioned twice in a prophecy generally means that is very important.
it would be a
But what is
big,
so important about him ruling Ilion, other than it
yeah.
usurping and getting rid of Samael? Which, let's be, I think, fair and honest here. Samael wasn't exactly causing that much of a problem. Like
No. Well, no. He
early
was
on, he was
perfectly
sending dark
content.
hounds, but
Yeah, he was perfectly content to sit in
yeah,
his tower and let everything happen around him. Like,
yeah,
which yeah, we get it. He's a bad guy, but
yeah.
just because he is bad guy does not mean he is bad guy. No, just kidding. He's totally
I
a bad
mean, but in
guy.
this case, he's a bad guy.
He is bad guy. Very bad.
Yeah,
He's very bad. Um,
yeah. Because I mean, you get this whole thing: the trumpets of war shall sound at his footsteps. The alarms go off whenever they show up in Ilion. The ravens feed at his voice. He's shouting and they're fighting, and all these people are dying.
yeah.
And he shall wear a crown of swords. Um, actually, as the plow breaks the earth, shall he break the lives of men, and all that was shall be consumed in the fire of his eyes. The trumpets of war sound at his footsteps. The ravens feed at his voice, and he shall wear a crown of swords. You think that entire passage actually doesn't refer to Rand at all? It refers to Samael?
Oh. No, that's gotta be. How would that apply to Samael? Just that he came out of the boar and immediately took over Ilion?
Well, yeah, he's wearing the crown of swords basically
Well,
before
but it
Rand.
wasn't called the Crown of Swords, right?
Oh, it wasn't. Yeah, you're right.
It was called something else until Rand took over, and it
The
was like
laurel crown.
the Laurel Crown, right? And
Yeah.
then what was it? Like he turned it upside down or something weird,
It's
and
because
it was
there's tiny swords hidden amongst the laurel wreaths.
yeah. And then he they like redubbed it the Crown of Swords.
Yeah, he called it that because of that. I mean, it's the same crown. There's nothing different about it. I don't know that he. That's what he refers to it as, but I don't. Did he actually officially rename it? It's no longer the laurel crown. It's the crown of swords.
No, no, I think that's what I'm saying is I think after
Yeah.
he takes it and wears it, people begin to call it the Crown of Swords. It's that's what I'm saying. Like some of the laurels fall off and people can see the swords behind it or something like that. I cannot remember.
Well,
Hold
he mentions it because he can feel them, and because they poke him all the fucking time, because the crown is heavy as shit because there's a ton of gold in it.
Yeah,
And he's like, this crown is because when he first puts it on, they're digging into his fucking head, which obviously is a bit of a callback to Jesus's crown of thorns kind of thing.
right, right.
Also mirrored in the name crown of swords, crown of thorns kind of thing, but it's still the same crown.
Yeah, no, it is
I don't
still the
know.
same crown.
I don't know. I just kind of like that idea now that maybe that passage, instead of referring to Rand, refers to Samael.
You're
And then
not
you
wrong.
get the next one, Master of the Lightnings, Rider on the Storm, Wearer of a Crown of Swords, Spinner out of Fate, who thinks he turns the wheel of time may learn the truth too late, being Rand, of course. Because Samael has pretty much kept Ilian, because Ilian is at war with Tyr, aren't they?
I mean, they're always at war,
Or
right? They hate
well,
each
yeah,
other.
that's true. So that's still going on. He's sowing discord is around as much as he can. There's tons of people dying because of him. Maybe, I mean, it could be both. Who knows?
¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to look into the Crown of Swords. You know what? Maybe that's another thing we can do is we can do a breakdown on all of the different crowns and thrones. Because one thing I will say, another thing that I will say that I love about these books is the the thrones and the crowns and the different ruling icons for
Well,
the
there's
different
only
nations and how like how that iconology sort of permeates into uh, those respective kingdoms. I like that a
we
lot.
only ever see what, two crowns, because there's the Rose
The
Crown
Rose
and the
Crown,
Crown of Swords,
yeah.
because there's a point where Rand's wearing them both. And
No, we do
then
see
you
the crown
have
in
the
Carrion
Sun. There, well,
because
you
when
see the Sun
Colabert
Throne.
is wearing it when she usurps the crown after Rand gets kidnapped in Lord of Chaos. And he takes it and breaks it in half and then mends it and is like, "What can be done can be undone." And she's like, "Oh shit," and poops her pants and hangs herself. So we do see that crown as well. I'll bet. See, this is why it'd be a good episode. That's why we should do it. Uh, all in all, though,
Oh
when it
no,
comes to
there is more.
prophecy,
Holy shit! One,
yeah,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, no, there's 6. Well, let's say there's 6. There's really only 5 that are true monarch crowns. Because you have the Rose Crown for Andor, the Broken Crown for Saldea, the Crown of Swords or the Laurel Crown for Ilian, the Crown of the Tree for the Panarch of Terabon, and the Diadem of the First, which is the Crown of Mayene. The
right.
other one they throw in here is the Diadem of the Daughter Heir, which, of course, is the crown for the Daughter Heir. But that's really it. So, I mean, yeah, you have other people wearing crowns, but I think like most of the crowns are just like
Yeah.
relatively standard
Well,
crowns.
when it comes
Because
to
you
prophecy,
have the two main crowns. You have the Rose Crown and the Crown of Swords, and then you have the Sun Throne and the Crystal Throne,
right,
are like the only ones that actually matter
right.
in the story.
Well, and so when it comes to like prophecy, right? When it comes to prophecy in the Wheel
Mm.
of Time, which by the way, the Crown of Swords, that's part of the reason why it's called the Crown of Swords. Rand renames it the Crown of Swords, but it's actually one of the things that is in Min's viewing. Min sees the crown. Uh way,
Yeah.
way back.
Sword that isn't a sword, a golden crown of laurel wreaths
Yeah. So
is
when
what
it comes
she
to
mentions,
prophecy,
and that's back in Eye of the World.
yeah. Oh yeah, again, it serves as a beautiful
A
foreshadowing
story, it's like a
perspective.
circle.
It's great. It's great. It's amazing. It's amazing. But ultimately, prophecy is. I like what you said that prophecy is sort of a chicken and the egg situation, right? Like
Mhm.
if I did this, would it still happen the
Well,
way it happened,
I think it
or
can be. can
am
be
I
extremely
influenced by the fact that I heard this prophecy and now I
Yeah.
think that I need to go do it? Like, I don't know. I really like that aspect of it. I really like the Wheel of
Well,
Time's
it's like a Gwen's
interpretation
death,
of prophecy.
like a Gwen prophesying her own death, right? Did she just resolve herself to that fate and just not look and see and try to find another way out of her situation than just giving herself over to death? Or was it truly unavoidable, or did she just not really, because her mind was already resolved to being willing to die and believing that she was going to die one way or the other,
Right.
that she was just like, that's it, and that's the whole self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing, like
Yeah.
how much of some of this prophecy stuff that we see in the Wheel of Time kind of winds up being a trap for the people that are
Whi-
following it.
Which I love. Which I love because that also makes, once again, you got prophecies of the shadow, the Jedi
Mhm.
prophecies of the Athan Mier. I don't know. There's just so much of that, and it really just kind of
Mhm.
boils down to cause and effect. You know, cause and effect.
Mhm.
I love it. I love the circular logic with it. I love the slippery slope of it. I love when they, you know, I don't know, just I love that in this particular case, when there's a prophecy, you as the reader don't ever get to say, "Oh, well, okay, so that's what's going to happen." What you do is when you go back and reread the books, you go, "Oh my god, that prophecy is that takes place in book 10. I'm on book 2. How are we already prophesizing things in book 10?" Like, you get to
Mhm.
see the real uh amazing foundations of the story when you go back through the story. Like, I've often said Wheel of Time is one of those story series that you can read through and fall in love with the first time because it's amazing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's like
the real
the
depth
prophecy. Mhm.
comes in the rereads because you start to
Yeah.
see why the story resonated so well. And I love
Mhm.
it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. I'm going to leave you with two sections from the prophecy of the shadow. The first one being, in that day when the one-eyed fool travels the halls of mourning, and the first among vermin lifts his hand to bring freedom to him who will destroy. The last days of the fallen blacksmith's pride shall come. Yea, and the broken wolf, the one whom death has known, shall fall and be consumed by the midnight towers, and his destruction shall bring fear and sorrow to the hearts of men, and shall shake their very will itself. So the Shadow have prophecies about
Yeah.
Matt and Perrin and Hopper,
Hopper. Poor
the
Hopper.
broken wolf, the one whom death has known. Um, so I think that's interesting, but ultimately, potentially self-fulfilling prophecy or preordained, you decide. But the Shadow prophesied their own failure
Right?
because this is the second one I'm going to leave. It says, "And then shall the Lord of the evening come, and he shall take our eyes, for our souls shall bow before him, and he shall take our skin, for our flesh shall serve him, and he shall take our lips, for only him we will praise. And the Lord of the evening shall face the broken champion, and shall spill his blood and bring us the darkness so beautiful Let the screams begin, O followers of the shadow, beg for your destruction.
You know, that's a really
Like, it's
compelling.
crazy. He shall take our eyes, for our soul
Let's,
shall bow before him.
how do we sign up for that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beg for your destruction. Like, oh, please, I can't wait to lose. But what I think is even cool in that part is he shall take our skin, for our flesh shall serve him. And he body swaps with Morden. So there's a chance that the prophecies of the shadow also prophesied the body swap. Because the body that Rand takes and inhabits after the last battle
Right.
isn't just like one that just showed up, like Morden was like rebuilt. Like the shadow has had that body for a while.
For a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But apparently the first among vermin could be Rand or Logain.
Oh.
And Brandon Sanderson did confirm that the broken wolf is Hopper. Yeah, look at that.
Hell yeah. Well done.
Hey. But no, I think it's a lot of cool. A lot of cool English.
It is a lot of cool. You're not wrong.
I think prophecies done right can be cool. I think prophecies done wrong, like honestly, they are in Harry Potter, are
Yeah.
lazy devices.
They just are.
Prophecies
Yeah.
done right add to the story while also fulfilling the literary purpose of allowing you to push a character in a direction without having to do a massive buildup of reason why. Is it a
Yeah.
lot easier to say, well, the prophecy says the stone of Tyr must fall, and the sword that's not a sword but could be a sword but might not be a sword because it's kind of like a big glow stick, but don't crack it. Is that a lot easier to get Rand to go to Tyr and do his things in Tyr than it is to like have Moraine spend an entire book trying to convince this stubborn sheep herder that that's what he needs to do by building an army? Absolutely.
Yeah, who knows,
But
man?
again, that's done right. It's done a lot better than neither can live while the other survives.
Right.
Magic unknown to the Dark Lord.
He returns to the Dark Lord tonight. Yeah.
Servant to master will be reunited once more. Like,
Harry, my boy.
did I think the Harry Potter prophecies were cool when I first saw them and everything? Like, yeah, I thought it was cool. And then I read the Wheel of Time and I was like, JK,
Ooh.
they're not that cool. See what I did there?
I see
Yeah.
it.
No, I like it. But
Well done.
again,
Well done, sir.
I don't think the prophecies necessarily had to happen. I think they were very likely suggestions of what could happen because, again, the foretellings. I mean, imagine this: you're before the breaking, or before the War of Power. So yeah, you're definitely before the breaking, and you're having a foretelling about a dude that's going to be born on the side of a mountain in 3,000 ish years from now, plus. Like, honestly, the fact that they were absolutely correct about it being on Dragonmount to a maiden
I mean,
is incredible accuracy. Like Nostradamus could only dream of that level of accuracy.
you're not wrong.
But also a lot of the accuracy in prophecy comes from, like you said towards the start of this whole episode, the hindsight, the retrospect.
Yeah.
Nostradamus is thought to be one of the most accurate prophetic writers of our relative time, because everybody that thinks that looks back at his predictions and is like, oh, well, these all fit here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And it's like, yeah, hindsight works crazy well when you're
Yeah.
trying to add stuff. Like, there was a program that they developed to try to find hidden meanings using a secret cipher in the Bible. and they were looking back through history. We're like, oh, these words collectively put together have outlined
Yeah.
all of these disasters. And this, if we do it this way, we've got the names of every person that's ever been Pope ever. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, yes, you're talking about a book that is made up of words that use letters that if you rearrange them in an infinite number of ways, you will eventually make other words.
that
That's how words work. Like,
we as humans are really, really good at like finding patterns as well.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
we just
That's
are.
why
And
pareidolia
so
is a thing, and why if you believe in ghosts or you don't, that's what makes the whole paranormal investigation stuff so hard. Like things like
yeah,
pareidolia, because our brain is hardwired to look for patterns and
yes.
faces where there are maybe none. And it sucks because that's the chief argument against a lot of like paranormal stuff is like, well, it's just a weird collection of pixels that are oddly darkened, and you're putting a pattern where there isn't one. And I'm like,
Okay, but
no.
also there's a pattern there. Like, yeah, no, it's dumb.
Yeah.
Well,
But, take it with a grain of salt. Nostradamus thought the world would have been destroyed apparently twice by nuclear war, according to his writings and the interpretations thereof. And it's been like 20 years since the oldest one. So he wasn't right about the time. It'll probably still happen, but
I
not when
mean,
he said it did. And until then, Black Tower Podcast will still be here, dragging our proverbial taint across your fresh new white rug. You're welcome. Bark, bark. For all of us here at the Black Tower Podcast, thank you for listening to our ramblings and rantings. If you choose to go and get your butt crack waxed, let me know how the regrow works. Like, is it really that annoying? Do you
'cause
just get used to it?
let me know
Or is
how
it
it
like
went. 'Cause,
sandpaper on
you know,
sandpaper? Like,
might
does
do
it
it
sound like
myself.
sandpaper on sandpaper? You ever rubbed like pieces of sandpaper together and it just sounds like it would be painful?
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks everybody for being here. Thank you so much for being the best goddamn audience ever. We love you. We hope that wherever you are, you leave here just a little bit more insane than you were when you first got here. From all of us here at the Black Tower, my name is Josh. And yes, you have to say it like that.
Yep. Yeah. We shortened it for on-screen purposes, but that's actually how it's spelled.
Right.
Josh with 18 H's and phlegm at the end.
And phlegm.
And I've been Andrew. You're Mahale that's curious about butt crack waxing now, apparently. We'll see y'all again next week. And I can't wait to hear the comments on this episode.
You've been waiting for this moment, for this feeling to grow. In the shadows, always watching, always running the show. In the tower, you can bring your pain. In the tower, you can feel the strain. You've been having so much trouble